Hey everybody, Jay here. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we have our beautiful Generac generator here up on our lift, which we just covered last video. And we're going to do some more maintenance on this. If you just watched one of the last videos, we did an oil change. We're going to blow through an oil change on this, pretty straightforward. But this video is going to be, I might not even record the oil change. If you want to see it, I'll put a link to it there. We just did it, so I don't want to repeat the same thing. But we're going to do a spark plug and air filter today. That's what today's video is about. I'm going to show you how to change the air filter and a spark plug on a generator. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you think. Stick around. Should be a quick, easy video. And yeah, let's get right to it. I know you guys are here for the air filter and spark plug, but good tip of advice. Write the date and or hours and or both on your oil filter before you change it. And if it's a vertical filter, pre-fill it with oil first and then thread it on. Make sure you put oil on your O-ring. Just some extra tips here. So we're going to go ahead and write the date on here. This doesn't have an hour meter on it, but we're going to write the date on it. And just an extra tip of advice. I know you're not here for the oil change, but my last video, that generator didn't have a oil filter, so I'm going to cover it now. So yep, that's that. All right, everybody, so let's get into it. On your generator, depending on the orientation, to give you, you're going to have your pole starter here, you're going to have your fuel petcock, you're going to have your fuel line going down to your carburetor. Your air filter is going to be on mostly the outward most side, I guess, if you will. Make sure you guys are... Okay, so pretty much, sorry, the camera cut out here. You want to undo this, you want to take your cover off, then you have what's called a pre-filter here. You want to take that off, and then all you have to do is pop out your old air filter. See how this is all kind of broken down and nasty? All you gotta do is pop this out, pop the new one back in, put the pre-filter back on, put your cover back on. That's it. It's that simple. Make sure when you're done though, you order another one. Okay, so this is our new air filter here. We're gonna go ahead and pop this back in. Our pre-filter is not that dirty, so we're just gonna lay that back over. Take our cover and just put our cover. All right, now that we got the new air filter in there, all you want to do is just tighten down your cover and you're good to roll. All right, so here we go. We've been going through maintenance on all our generators, getting our ducks in a row here. We just did an oil change. We just did the air filter on the side here. Now we're going to do a spark plug. So if you look at your engine, real simple, you have fuel. Fuel goes into a carburetor. Carburetor puts fuel into the motor. The fuel gets burnt, comes out the exhaust. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty much real basic if you know nothing about motors. If you look up here, we have a boot with an elbow on it. If we pop that boot off, our spark plug is going to be in there. So let's go ahead and pop the boot off, and I will show you the wrench that you need to use in order to get this plug out. And we'll put a new one in. There's a couple tips for putting a new one in. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get right to it. All right, so if you can, you definitely want to wiggle the boot a little bit. Oftentimes they can get stuck from sitting. You don't have a lot of room here. Be careful if you just ran your machine. Your exhaust is generally near your spark plug, so you just want to be careful there. I'm going to use 2 hands, so we'll be with you in 1 second. Okay, through the sake of video editing, we got our boot off. As you can see, we'll put this to the side. If you have compressed air or brake cleaner or something, you want to blow some air cleaner or brake cleaner in there. Anything that's sitting, resting on the spark plug, you don't want it to fall on your engine, because once you take this plug out, it's a direct shot into your motor. So let's go ahead and get the socket to fit, pop it out, and then we'll go from there. Okay, generally on a tool set, you're going to have 2 sockets here, usually 5/8 and 13/16. Those are your most common size spark plugs, if you will. The difference between a spark plug and a regular socket is that there's a rubber boot in there that helps grab the spark plug, so when you're once it's finally unthreaded, it'll pop right out. So let's go ahead and slide this on there with the ratchet, take this plug out. All right, so we're working with tight quarters here, so if I could show you here, we got that socket seated on our plug. Let's go ahead and get the ratchet and break it loose. Okay, so obviously righty tighty, lefty loosey here, so we're going to be pulling towards us, and just like that. Once you get it started a few ways, you can pop your wrench off, and you can generally do it by hand. Here's a tip too, I'll show you. Maybe if you have real tight quarters and you can't get in there, this obviously isn't the right size, but you can use an open-ended wrench or a crescent wrench to bite onto the end of your spark plug here, and you can turn the wrench this way. I've done that before on several motors. This one's tight clearance. We were able to get the ratchet in, but going forward, here's your tip of the day. You can fit that's why the end of the socket here has looks like a bolt, so you can put a wrench on it. Just an extra tip there. All right, once it's loose enough, sometimes the socket is a little slippery to grab. You can often pull these out, unthread these by hand, and let's go. That's pretty much our spark plug here. So you can learn a lot by looking at your spark plug. We just had this generator running, and it seems a little wet, so our generator might be running a little rich. That's more advanced tuning stuff. We'll get to that probably in some other video, but you can look up charts online to see how your machine's running. Generally, if your plug is really white, you might be burning coolant. Generally, if your plug is super wet, you have some type of oil leak where you're burning oil. I run a lot of mystery oil additives in my fuel stabilizers, so that's probably why this plug is a little bit black. So let's go ahead and get the new one. There's a tip you need to do before you put it in, so let's go ahead and get to that. All right, so this is the meat and potatoes of the video. You want to make sure that the plug that came out of your motor is the actual plug for it. There's different heat ranges, and there's two things you need to know about spark plugs. There's a million different spark plugs. You have two things to worry about: is certain heat ratings on spark plugs. Certain spark plugs are hotter than others, depending on how hot your motor runs. Some motors call for like 87 octane, 93 octane. So you need to make sure that the plug that you took out is the actual right plug for the motor. Sometimes it's listed on the gas tank or listed on the side of the motor somewhere, but look it up. Make sure that the plug you took out is the correct plug, and make sure you replace it. Second thing that's important is threads. There's a lot of different thread depths. If you have too short of a thread, motor's not going to run so well. If you have too long of a thread, you can risk hitting the piston on the spark plug here. I have seen that before. That is no fun. So make sure that this is a Champion RC14YC, Champion RC14YC. There's crossover plugs between NGK, Champion, Bosch, whatever your brand loyalty is. Doesn't really matter to me. But anyways, you want to pay attention to that. Third thing too is whether it has a cap or not on the back. These caps do unthread. Certain machines have a cap, they don't. Just make sure that you match whatever you put out. So yeah, next part is to put a Never Seize on, an anti-seize lubricant. Generally, these are steel plugs. You have aluminum heads or vice versa, whatever it may be. You have two different metals that expand at two different temperatures, so you want to make sure you put a little bit of anti-seize on, not at the tip, on the threads here, so that way if you have to remove this years from now, it will come out no problem. Also, check your plug gap. A lot of older stuff has a plug gap written right on it. Most new plugs are pre-gapped, if you will. So there's a bunch of things you need to make sure that you check before you put a spark plug in. So this has the correct gap. It's the same plug. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some anti-seize on, and then we're gonna put our plug back in our engine. Okay, so all you gotta do, again, it's nothing fancy. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this. I've had this can of anti-seize for years, so again, you don't need a ton. Just you want to put some on the threads, don't get it on the tip, and you also want to put some on, you don't have to go crazy. That's probably a little bit, that's probably excess, but just put some on the threads. As you thread it in, it's going to spread, so you don't have to cake the thing, but I promise you, you will never ever have a plug stuck in a motor if you put Never Seize on the threads. So yeah, let's go ahead and put it in now. Pre-fit it in here, like I showed you before. You see how it doesn't fall out? That's because you got that rubber grommet in there. So setting that in there will allow you to get down in there, especially if you have like a V8 or something, or a straight 6, whatever it may be. Trying to get those plugs in, you can't do it by hand, so you'll need to use a special spark plug socket. So yeah, let's go ahead and lower you guys and put the plug back in. All right, so we're getting ready to put our plug back in. We have it all anti-seized. We have it sitting in our socket here. So let's go ahead and just fish it through. Make sure you don't get any dirt or grime on it. It's like playing the game Operation when you were a kid. You don't want to get any dirt or whatnot in your motor. Make sure you got your threads started. Always put these in by hand, get them started. You don't want to, what's it called here? You don't want to cross thread anything, because that will be an absolute nightmare. So as you can see, we got it started a little bit of ways. Now let's go ahead and get the wrench and tighten it down. All right, so this is where you need to pay attention. Once it's seated, there's what's called a This is a compression washer here. So what's going to happen is as you tighten it down, it's going to feel like it's stripping out, but it's actually not. You're just compressing. You're compressing that compression washer. So it's going to feel like it's going to strip out, but it's not. So you just want to go a little bit after that. Again, do not crank the hell out of these. They're not going anywhere. You're not going to blow them out like those old Fords. Go Chevy. You're not going to blow those plugs out like the old Fords used to do. So anyways, make sure that's just good and tight. And now we'll take our plug out. You can, another tip too, I don't have it now, put a little bit of a dielectric grease on this spark plug tip here. It's not going to mess up the contact, but it's going to allow your boot to come off easier. That's in the house, so I'm not going to do that today, but just an added tip, but you didn't know that. Slide your boot back over. You hear that click? I don't know if you did, but a lot of times they'll click. The clicking means that the metal, there's a metal contact in there. It's slid over this cap. That's why it's important to have a cap or not have a cap, because there's different boots for certain style plugs. So that's it. It's snapped over. We heard it. Let's go ahead and start it, make sure it runs, and then yeah, we'll be cooking with gas. All right, so now that we're all cleaned up, we got everything off the top of our generator. Let's just make sure all is still well and it runs good. We have no issues. So yeah, let's give it a quick yank. All right, that's a wrap. All right, everybody, appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think. Again, short, simple video on spark plugs. There's actually a lot more to it than you probably thought. If you learned something, leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below. If you hated this video, leave a comment below. Either way, it helps this video get noticed, helps people come over to the channel and subscribe. So yeah, anyways, I'm Jay. Just finished up our maintenance series here. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, like I always say, please hit that thumbs up. Please let me know what you think. Please leave a comment. We have 2 generators now that are running good. So yes, we are ready for whatever comes our way. So yeah, anyways, like I always say, appreciate you watching. Leave a comment. And yeah, we will see you out in the woods.